Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about Hive fleets as we jump to Hive Fleet Leviathan. If you're new to the channel, subscribe because we post Warhammer 40K content every single day. And if you have any requests, please comment down below. With that said, let's get into 40 facts on Hive Fleet Leviathan. Hive Fleet Leviathan was the third and largest Tyranid incursion into the Milky Way galaxy in the year 997 of the 41st millennium, and marked the start of an ongoing Third Tyrannic War for the Imperium of Man. Less than 5 years after the defeat of the Hive Fleet Kraken in the Second Tyrannic War, Lord Inquisitor Kryptman noted the telltale signs of yet another Tyranid invasion. He implemented the Kryptman census, burning out dozens of astropaths in the attempt to contact scores of worlds on every fringe of the Imperium. Slowly, the responses, and lack of them, formed a pattern, and the venerable Inquisitor was able to chart the course of the Tyranids' latest Hive fleet to arrive in the Milky Way galaxy. Codename Leviathan. This time, the Tyranids were approaching from below the galactic plane, attacking from 2 points spaced wide apart in the shape of a closing pair of jaws, cutting off large portions of the galaxy from the warp travel or astropathic communication. At a great cost in human life, a combined force of Planetary Defense Force troops, 2 regiments of the Imperial Guard, the Ultramarines and Mortificator chapters of Astartes, and a Death Watch kill team under the command of Inquisitor Kryptman crushed the left half of the Leviathan on the world of Taurus Ultra, destroying Tyranids nearest to Terra, and re-establishing astropathic contact with the worlds between Leviathan's jaws. The Imperium had won its first victory. Yet Leviathan continued to carve its bloody path through the Imperium. Perhaps Leviathan's main gain was the vital forge world of Gryphon 4, home of the Legio Gryphonicus Titan Legion. Kryptman knew that he had to slow down the Hive fleet's advance to buy time for the Imperial Navy's battle fleet Solar and Tempestus to muster. With grim finality, he ordered a cordon to be established. Every world within was to be evacuated and undergo immediate exterminatus wherever possible, thus causing the Tyranids to expend their forces for little gain. The exterminatus denied them valuable biomass to replenish themselves. With one stark, callous decision, the Inquisitor had inflicted the Imperium's worst act of genocide upon its own since the Horus Heresy. Kryptman was denounced as a radical and a traitor. When migrating orcs claimed a score of former human worlds, he was stripped of his title and cast from the Inquisition by his brethren. Yet Kryptman still had loyal allies within the Death Watch, and incepted a plan to halt Leviathan without the loss of further human life. When a Genestealer-infested Space Hawk drifted from the warp, members of the Death Watch loyal to Kryptman captured a brood in stasis. Using the brood of captured live Genestealers, the Inquisitor engineered a Tyranid invasion within the Orc-held Octavius system, very close to Leviathan's advance. The crowded Orc cities, so teeming with life, were the source of a huge orcish infestation, and soon drew the entirety of Leviathan into the tight cluster of Orc systems. The plan had worked, and both races are now thoroughly involved in destroying each other. One thing is certain, each race thrives on war, and there remains the possibility that if the Tyranids emerge victorious, the Imperium should have to face a threat far greater than before. As in a victory, unlike other races, Tyranids effectively lose no military strength or resources. Their casualties and still living warrior strains reabsorbed by invading Hive ships along with the remains of the conquered worlds. Thus, every victory has no repercussions, only benefits. This also means that the Tyranids will assimilate vast quantities of strong, survivable Orc DNA that makes Orcs such successful survivors, and incorporate it into their own bioconstructs. Indeed, worlds on the edge of the conflict have begun to file captures of Tyranid assault organisms larger than ever before. The implication of Cryptman's manipulation of this alien threat are too horrible to contemplate. A shadowy council within the Imperium called the Strategic Collective has been analyzing all details of the Tyranid invasion and have drawn a conclusion as stark as it is terrifying. The fleets faced by the Imperium to date are but parts of a far greater whole, and this whole will be arriving at the Imperium's border within less than a century. They estimate that mobilization levels would need to be increased by a minimum of 500%, effectively including every able-bodied man, woman, and child on every world in the segmentum Solar, Obscurus, and Tempestus, to have even a hope of stopping the Tyranids. And those were 40 facts on Hive Fleet Leviathan. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, share this with your friends. Any friend that plays Tyranids, share this video with them so that they can get inspired to continue the fight with their Tyranid armies. I don't know if 8th edition has seen a big boost for the Tyranid player. I know the introduction of more wounds to monstrous creatures is a huge benefit, but then again, a lot of models now can they have a lot of attacks, and they have a lot of wounds that they can actually inflict. So it's easier to wound, basically. But yeah, comment down below if you're a Tyranid player, and let me know how the whole game is going for you guys. But with that said, let's unpack everything that is in this lore. Now, this bit of lore is very short, but there's a lot of information in it that we can talk about. Number one is definitely the Inquisitors' method of stopping the Tyranid invasion. He basically sacrificed his own people, his own resources, so that the Tyranids could not get a hold of it. It's not something that's rare, I should say. This happened in World War II as the German army pushed towards Russia. Russian border cities and stuff like that would actually burn their crops and kill their animals, so that by the time the German army would reach Russian soil, there was nothing for them to take. And that's basically what the Inquisitor did. He burnt cities, he destroyed cities, planets, so that when the Tyranids finally got to that planet, they had very little to nothing as far as biomass to absorb, and of course that would weaken them. The second big thing here to unpack is definitely a combination of both orc DNA and Tyranids. As we all know, orcs have that natural ability to just be born with the ability to create machines, to just want to fight. It's just in their nature. So that, along with the Tyranids, is very scary. Now, here in the lore, it does talk about monstrous size Tyranids, or bigger Tyranids than before, which is very scary, because if you think about it, imagine a Hormigaunt the size of an orc. Now, orcs are supposed to be huge creatures, probably the same size, if not taller, if they didn't slouch, than a space marine. So now, if you have a regular gaunt the size of an orc, that's a scary menace. And that is what the Imperium is reporting, and that is what is being seen because of Hive Fleet Leviathan. Now, the actual battle between the orcs and the Leviathan is a really interesting story, and we're going to talk more about that in the future, because in reality it's one of my favorite campaigns, the Octorian sector. So we're going to create a 40 facts video on that in the future. Subscribe so you guys can get that. But basically, the orcs and the Tyranids are fighting. Tyranids, of course, are pushing the orcs back, and then who arrives? God's Ghoul Magurk Thraka. We didn't talk about that in the lore here, but that is what happens, and it's super awesome. Expect the 40 facts video pretty soon on that. And then finally, let's jump to the last thing, which is probably the scariest thing. All the Hive fleets so far are just the scouts, basically. There is a huge mass of Tyranids that's finally gonna make its way into the Milky Way galaxy within a century. What does this mean for the future? I have a feeling that in the future, as Gilliman continues his crusade against chaos, at some point he's going to be stopped, not by chaos, but by the Tyranids. The arrival of the Tyranids is going to be a huge, just showstopper for the Imperium, the Eldar, chaos. It's just going to be a huge event in the future when the entire hive mind, maybe, finally arrives into the Milky Way galaxy. So really, really scary. Like I said, a lot to unpack in this lore. And if you guys have any suggestions for topics that you guys would like me to branch off of from this story of Leviathan, please comment down below. If you want to support us a little bit more, jump on over to Patreon. A simple $1 a month helps us create more videos for you guys. And if you can't do that, we completely understand. Simply by liking, commenting, and sharing, it really helps out the channel. Thanks for everything, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.